Well, a little behind on my reading, a 2016 book about Trudeaumania, and of course the original Trudeau, not the cover band. Eh, People sometimes ask me, do I use a teleprompter or have I got notes or what have you? Well, I mean, occasionally I would use notes. I was in broadcasting before we had teleprompters, couldn't afford them in St. John and Moose Jaw. But no, the reason I read the book was not to make a whole bunch of notes, but was to remember certain things. I mean, the first thing in the 1968 Liberal Leadership Convention, apparently Ernst Zundel ran, one reference to him in this book, and Ernst Zundel became a famous Holocaust denier, infamous, I should say. Also, Igor Gouzenko, the spy who started the Cold War, the cipher clerk in Ottawa, he wrote a letter to Richard Nixon warning Nixon about the rise of Trudeau, the crypto communist or socialist or, whatever, all those pejoratives. Very interesting chronology of events. And I was a very young boy in 1968 watching the Saint Jean-Baptiste Day parade from Peel and Sherbrooke. And as I looked down on the street and saw the floats go by, they were in tatters, ripped apart. It was like, the Pas de Calais in World War II with all the broken, armory and trailers and what have you. And that was the night that Trudeau sat on the reviewing stand, and it's a little ambiguous. Trudeau fans say he brushed off his RCMP guard, like this, and stayed there while pop bottles and other things were being thrown at him by the indépendantistes. And others say, well, he kind of was, cajoled into sitting there. That remains unknown to history. What is interesting about reading biography and history and such is whether you like or hate Trudeau, and feel free to do whichever you want. The 18 months that he spent, according to this book, 14 hours a day, let's say it was 12, whatever it was, he probably had lunch, studying the Constitution and federal provincial relations and his own new criminal code justice as justice minister. The amount of work that he did dwarfs anything I've ever heard of or seen a politician do. So he was really ready to have a multi-front war against Jean Lesage, Daniel Johnson, Robert Stanfield, and all comers. Interesting study in doing work. And of course, back into the 50s, he had been writing about this, lecturing about it as a law professor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, like him or hate him, or like any current politician, who has done the work? That's an interesting question. Good book. Robert Wright, he had a book about Cuba. I interviewed him on my cable television talk show. Good man and interesting book. Let's see what the book about Justin is like.